Hello, everyone. We have an exciting episode for you today. Sanket, welcome back. It's been a while. We spoke, and a lot has happened.
A lot has happened in the past few weeks, and we should have done it earlier, I guess.
Yeah, I think I I was just trying to wrap my head around on what to actually talk about because so much is happening, right? It's a lot.
Yeah.
But I will start with the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
A big giant David and Goliath story. Figma,
Yes.
Figma suing Lovable.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what you think about that?
I don't know where to start with it. Although it's funny from one point of view, but it also shows how big is the impact of these AI tools on giants, like this giant company called Figma suing a very new entrant into the whole ecosystem, Lovable.dev. It's wild how somebody can actually get a trademark on the word dev mode. I think it should not be issued in the first place. And it's crazy that a giant like Figma can sue a startup in Europe for a trademark on a couple of words that they are using in their tool. And I know at least a dozen of tools that use dev mode in their tools. So it's funny, but also what does it mean on a very high level or zoom out level? I think it means that there is an impact of AI on these giants as well. And the atmosphere or maybe the whole vibe is changing and shifting that, okay, these AI tools may eat up the big ones. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what it means.
How do you adapt in this situation? Because, see, the underdog story has always been the reason for innovation in every industry, right? In that you've had ChatGPT was once the underdog.
Yes.
Now it's this big giant that we see. What do you think is the future? How should somebody, a company, think of adopting these tools or think of how to approach the industry at this point? Because there's going to be innovation. Innovation will not stop. What will happen?
If you talk about the companies that are consuming these tools, that's a separate question. But if we talk about how these product companies should approach the whole industry or the changing landscape, that's the second question I would say.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. If I reframe it correctly, it's like we are seeing a lot of prompt to code tools or AI tools every day. Where is the moat?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think the moat is definitely with the LLM creators when it comes to prompt to code. But for any company building on top of this platform or infrastructure, they need to have some sort of differentiator. They cannot just be like query LLM and then just give the code and probably render it. That's not a strong mode for these companies. The mode would definitely be something that takes a little more time to build and something complex that cannot be replicated by other companies overnight. And that's what we are seeing, like prompt to code, like we have seen like hundreds of new startups and products that takes in a prompt and gives you a product.
Everybody's doing it at this point.
Yeah, and I think they should focus on something very specific. Is it meant for designers? Is it meant for product owners? If so, what are the very specific things that we can do for them? Say, like visual editing of Lovable, for example. If that grows into a whole design tool, then probably that could be a moat. And very specific things that's difficult to implement, that can't be replicated overnight. Yeah.
So how should the bigger companies, right?
Yeah.
They already have an audience. They already have a set, redefined mode for them.
Exactly.
Do they now need to redefine their modes again?
If we talk about Figma, for example, Figma is a design tool and the whole architecture is built on canvas and pixels. They have built a browser inside browser. That's what they say.
Yeah.
So it's very disconnected from today's coding environments, right? So we use, say, for example, React, Next, Tailwind CSS, while this does a pixel by pixel writing on an open canvas. So it will always be an export from that to code. It cannot directly accept these codes inside the tool. So it's a different world altogether. So if a company like Figma has to do some like real innovation or come back to the game, they'll have to start from scratch or maybe build a tool that understand and works on code first and not start from design.
I would start from design.
Especially in this era of AI.
They need to think both design and code
as one thing.
One entity at
Yes,
this point,
yes,
right?
yeah. As I said, prompt to code is no more the moat. So what's the moat for Canva?
Yeah.
Or even Firebase came with Firebase Studio, for example, which is another prompt to code tool. It's more than that. It's a full-blown IDE where you can actually build your software end-to-end and also host it. So if we look at the moat of Canva, it's their users. They have got, I think, more than 200 million monthly active users. And it becomes something for consumers because their audience and their users are like direct consumers who are building things. And they know that they can leverage this prompt to code where they can hide the code and directly render things on the canvas of Canva. Similar is the thing with the Firebase. They have the whole developer ecosystem and community, and they are doing a +1 on top of that with Firebase Studio. So their moat is their audience and their people and users, and with their own way of doing things, who are used to use Firebase and Canva in their own style of doing it. Yeah.
So if somebody at this industry, this volatile industry at this point of time, wants to define their moat, what would be your recommendation? How should they go about it?
It's very subjective. If it's consumers, then look at the consumers. If it's solving a very specific niche for, say, creative folks or for, say, business owners or product owners, they have to go deep down into a vertical and use LLMs and AI as an enabler or Gen AI and not directly be a wrapper around it that we have seen a lot of.
They can't do everything.
Yes. Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah. The wrapper has to be thick enough for them to stay in the game.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. So I also wanted to ask this, right? A lot of these prompt to code tools, mostly it's like everyone can code, everyone can design, right? But that's usually works for small business owners maybe, or like indie developers or people who are doing their own personal projects. When you scale up, when an enterprise wants to use these tools, there's always this hunt, a break. Will it actually meet my requirements? What's the level of customization that I can do? Security issues, right? You're giving your entire thought process code base to a AI tool.
Correct.
How does an enterprise or at least a mid-level to the top, big companies approach this?
It's evolving, and we are at a very early stage where indie developers and small business owners are the first users. As I said, if you have to go deeper into anything like design or code or maybe user workflow or analytics, today it's not happening. I mean, you have to bring in somebody who is an expert into any of those areas, and then they can get things done. They can use AI to do their job. But just one person doing all of that at this point for mid-sized companies or maybe big companies, it's very hard. Because enterprises and big companies, they usually solve a workflow problem. Let's come up with an idea, will work with you and will consult you and do a bunch of things, and then go through the design phase. And okay, if you like it, probably code it. Sometimes the design is very high fidelity, goes down to the pixel, and then we code it and do all those things. So this is one way of doing things that companies are doing today. Like big companies, mid-sized companies, they are doing it. Today, directly, that can't be replaced with the tools of today. So yeah, only time will tell. Today, it's more of expertise in all these areas that is needed, and it works as more of an assistant. Ultimately, the choice that you need to make, it comes with expertise, I would say. Because say if I have to choose a tool to code, then probably I look for more people doing it who are experts in those areas. And if they recommend it, then probably I'll go back and see. I would stay away from these social media grifters who are just doing it for the sake of doing it. Okay, these are new tools. Go and try it out. A quick glimpse would be nice if I can get a list of things, maybe every week. Okay, these are the highlights, or maybe a reel a day, or a couple of reels a day, or a couple of Twitter threads, for example. And then I look at something that is a game changer that probably 10x's my workflow. Then probably I'll go and try it out. But I would not deep down with every tool that we get every day. So there's definitely a threshold if the noise crosses that for a specific tool. And that happened with Cursor, for example. I saw Cursor, Codium, and Windsurf, and lot of these tools which were like coming every day. But Cursor saw a massive adoption, and I was seeing the experts in the software industry using it. And then I was like let's give it a try. Although there are people who are early adopters and they obviously have an advantage. But if your job is to try things early on, if you are that curious, then probably you should do it. But as a consumer, I would say probably wait.
Probably wait.
Yeah.
I think it does get into a point where it's a trend to use it, and you just use it because everybody is using it at that point, right?
Yeah.
So that I think becomes a lot of counterproductiveness in general.
Yeah.
Right. So you said something that interests me a little bit. So you said your expertise will matter on how you choose a tool.
Exactly.
So do you think like the amount of knowledge you have in your domain needs to be so robust at this point that you need to be able to actually think more on how to choose what tools to use?
Totally. I think when I look at, say, for software industry, for example, if I look at the junior developers or fresh college grads, I think it's kind of very noisy and difficult for them. For me, it's super easy because I know how things work and I can prompt to get my thing done. I can choose only the things that I think it makes it better. While for juniors in the software industry, it's very, very confusing. And they would have to like surround themselves with mentors or seniors, or maybe somebody they look up to on these social media platforms to filter out things for them. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult. And being an expert is super important, I think, especially today, because it's very confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So expertise cuts through the confusion.
Exactly. Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. On that note, I think we will end.
Yes.
Thank you for joining me, Sanket. We will definitely talk more about this topic. And thank to everyone for listening. Do comment what you thought about the episode. We want to hear your thoughts as well. And yeah, see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.